Welcome to the TLT Movement Podcast, a podcast for tomorrow's leaders today. The episode that you're about to listen to was recorded in front of a live audience last year at our annual conference, TLTCon. In today's episode, my wife Elise and I talk about what is character, integrity, identity, and if you don't know what yours is, how to find it. If you enjoyed today's episode, you might want to consider coming to TLTCon this July in South Florida. Go to TLTMOVEMENT.com to get tickets or just learn more about our organization as a whole. Hope you enjoyed this episode and hope you learned something new.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation.
Anything challenging is going to be hard. But so what? Hard could be the new fun.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Who's going to carry the totes? Endeavor to persevere.
If you want to be a good leader, you have to understand human nature.
I never look back. It distracts from the now.
Generation.
And that song gets me hype every single time.
Yeah.
All right.
So I want to delve a little deeper. I know we kind of talked about, because we're at identify impact, so identity is like the first word. But delving deeper into what it means to have an identity and how we find that identity. And the biggest thing for me is when I think about, well, what is my identity? It's what do I identify with? So the things in my life, what do I align myself with to form, my reputation and all of these things. I was thinking about this a lot last night. And the biggest thing, the word that really came to me was integrity is my big word. And a lot of people, I know we've shared it here this week, that integrity, doing what, if the same thing, if nobody's watching you, whether they're watching you
Doing
or
the
not.
right thing.
Doing the right thing, like being consistent. Well, I want to read the good old Wikipedia, or I guess Webster's Dictionary, definition of integrity. It's a noun. Steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code, the state of being unimpaired, soundness, the quality of condition of being whole or undivided completeness. I really love that.
So what you're saying is my identity is what school I went to, what job I have, my age, and my gender? No. Oh.
No. Because your identity is unique to you.
How?
And there are a lot of other people at your job, and there are a lot of people that bought that shirt from wherever you bought that shirt.
Got it for free from a friend.
Well, the point is, it's what's inside, and you have to strip away what's on the outside for what you, so basically morals, ethical code, but basically finding soundness in whatever it is that you identify to. So you're consistent across the board. You are who you are, no matter who's watching, to yourself, to peers, anybody that meets you, they know who you are.
And isn't
how
that
you present yourself?
kind of interesting how when we describe people and we describe our friends, we're like, oh yeah, they have this color hair, they dress like this.
They do this. It's
They
like,
do
she
this.
plays volleyball, and
Right.
she has really cool Air Force Ones that I want.
Imagine if we introduced people or talked about people by what their identity is.
Yeah.
And who they were as a person. That'd be a whole different landscape.
I feel like it'd be a whole lot more uplifting of others too. Like, I would love for somebody to, the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, she's trustworthy. Like, she's not a liar. I've never, that kind of thing. She's loyal. These are the things that they value. This is how they conduct themselves. But I think it's interesting if anybody, I guess Isaiah, because we talk about The Office and shows and things. My favorite show though is Seinfeld. I'm a huge Jerry Seinfeld fan. I think he's a genius. But anyways, my favorite thing about the show, if anybody's ever, can I see a show of hands who has seen Seinfeld?
Oh, we have 4 people in here?
No, that's enough for me. So if anybody's ever seen the show, it's very situational, sitcom, situational comedy. sitcom.
Oh,
If anybody didn't know that's what that meant. But it's draws me in because it's a time where people didn't have cell phones and people didn't have this virtual world that kind of everybody was linked into, and so you could know somebody before you know somebody. You could meet somebody before you really even step into a room with somebody. And so there's a lot of situations where you just say, hey, I'll see you there. And then you all have to just be there at that time. And if you don't, you have to find a payphone or a pager to tell them, let them know, yeah, I couldn't make it. And so that something about that, like, excites me.
It's just interesting because it's from the 90s, so it seems so close, and they're talking about all this stuff.
It's so different.
But it's so different.
Yeah, society has changed so much. So now, basically with Seinfeld, or in that situation in the 90s, some of the people in this room who actually lived that, you had your reputation that preceded you. So how you were known by others, and then your integrity was who you really are and what you're kind of putting forth when you meet somebody, but your reputation is what preceded you.
And hasn't that changed completely, guys? Like,
Yeah.
isn't how people see you now, it's pictures online, or it's how you look online, or what you talk about in your
it's
tweets?
a perception. So
right.
now what precedes the reputation is perception. So somebody can form an idea about you, and then it's like, okay, I have this idea, and then maybe I got to meet them once, so then maybe I got their reputation a little bit, and then now I have to spend intimate time. So it's like a whole nother realm that we've never dealt with before, is what social media has created, where it's perceptions of people.
I can't help but to think of that example of the young woman who came up here and shared about how she got canceled. Who was that?
Hayden.
Over here? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? Like, you were talking about how people, they didn't ask you how you actually felt or what you said. It was just you were perceived to say one certain thing, and then you were just blasted online, receiving threats.
And then I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say, oh, that's like, would you, based on this that you saw on social media, do you think this person has integrity? Would you want to spend time with them? It paints this light where you go, oh no, and we write these people off. Even people that get twisted in the sense of maybe they're on social media doing a bikini ad, and so we see that and go, oh, they're just a model, like, this is, why do people waste their time looking at this? Where that person in their real life, the people that are surrounded by those people are like, they're so smart and they're so brilliant. They're a really good friend. They're really loyal. They present themselves well. They have really strong public speaking skill, like a lot of stuff that really creates depth to a person and character. That's all wiped away. And I think there's a lot of people that are like that get caught up in this virtual world because we understand how important it is to be perceived well online in this weird identity, but it's a visual identity. So all you're going off of is how you look, what you wear.
You guys ever specifically put on an outfit and went to a specific place just to take a picture to post it? Anybody here? Yeah? We have a couple of you. You guys know people that do that?
Or like plan events. I mean, I'll be honest. I had friends in high school who would be like, we should all like get really cute outfits and like go have a picnic and then like do this. And we take all these really cute pictures. And it was such an event. But in all honesty, we were there for like maybe 30 minutes. And then we were all like, yo, you want to go like get some real food like somewhere else? And like these pants are way too high-waisted and tight. And I need to like put on some gym shorts. Like that kind of thing where we are living for this reality to grasp at this identity so we're accepted by people when it's not what makes up, who you are. So
all right, so I think we got a pretty good understanding now of what identity can look like, what it should look like, and what it shouldn't look like. Now, on the same topic of describing people as their identity, I think that that's impossible to do right now, or it's hard. Because how is someone supposed to know your identity if you don't even know who you are yet?
Yeah.
And so how do you find your identity?
Exploring like things that make you who you are. So the root of you. And I always go to like hobbies, things that truly interest you, not things that are like, okay, these are the top 5 trendy things of our time right now. I'll never know how to skateboard, so I can't do that because I'm a little too scared to get on it. But I can do, this or this. So I'll pick like my top 2 to be interested in. Instead, it's like, okay, I looked up recently a list of hobbies, like things to be interested in, like a long, like 500-page list. And I went through, and it had some old stuff on there, like old stuff that people do not do, that
Stamp
are not
collecting.
trendy anymore. Bonsai tree weaving or whatever.
Hey,
like
speak
that
for
kind of
yourself.
thing.
That's fun.
Well, and see, my lovely husband gets up every morning at 5:30 in the morning.
I have something like that.
And he reads books. And every morning,
Whoa, hey, slow down.
but not any books. I walk in and I'm like, well, what are you reading? And recently, Danny has been reading American history books. And it's something that he's decided is a passion of his, but he's learning all these really reputable people throughout history and going, wow, I identify with that. That's something I can get behind. That's a moral or ethical opinion or this philosophy that I really identify with. And he's taking it into conversations. And now I've noticed, we went back to Georgia to visit my family, and I caught him. He's talking to my brother about something. Well, turns out my brother identified with a few things too. And they were having such a good conversation.
Deep. And I've never talked to him like that. Like we have had very shallow convo, and
it's funny
really
because the
opened
first time you asked me like what my brother liked, you were like, does he like do this? Or like trendy things, like things that it's like, what do guys do?
Does
like,
he watch Rick and Morty?
Like or like I noticed, or like I've noticed that he dresses like this. So is he like, you'd say your brother's probably like a hipster? Like what is his vibe? That kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know, get to know him, talk to him. And now they're talking about like US presidents and like currency and all this stuff.
So there's stuff that you do, then there's hobbies that you have, but I think
stuff that you
mostly
basically putting yourself into action is what I mean, like true like connection with yourself and action. And there are other ways to do that.
I think it's less hobby and more value based than anything else.
Well, yeah.
I think your identity is what's unshakable. And if you don't have that, if you don't have something that you stand for enough that it's unshakable, and you refuse that if it were to ever, I don't know, like if you set a boundary for yourself and then you get to a scenario where that boundary is being tested, if you don't have your values in line and don't even know what they are, you're just going to go with the flow until you find out that you don't like to do that thing after many years of.
Well, and I think what I mean by hobbies, that's an example, but it's an example of action and something that you do on your own in your own time. And so give me another example, because right now I'm like, I don't know, what's something that you do? Action that you can do to become more in tune with things that you identify with, what you value, and how you live your life, because you have to physically move to live your life. So what's an action that can help you like identify what you identify with?
It's less of thinking about a specific action, and it's more of it's instilled in your character. It is your identity to act upon things. So I love talking about the serving leadership. What does serving leadership mean? Like really? And
to serve is an action.
Yeah,
I'm making my point. Serving, to serve is to give action. That's what I'm basically meaning. Is it's not just build things around you to build up your identity, like this perception facade in front of you, what you appear to be. It's the actual doing of how you carry yourself through life. That's
the thing is it's who you are is how you'll act. And so when you adopt, I think truly when you adopt this servant quality or this servant mindset, it's the most, in my opinion, one of the most humble places you can be. And it's not like, for example, I serve my loved ones and my family and whoever house I go over to by cleaning the dishes. Because it's something that I can do. I know I can do it.
Because you can't cook.
I can't cook. I know I can't cook, but I know that I can clean. And so when I am doing the dishes at anybody's house that I'm at, I'm mindfully thinking, this is what I do for my loved ones, and I like doing this.
Yeah.
and it's obviously it's dishes. It's not so much fun, but I know that I'm serving, and it's because it's a part of my character to be a servant and live for others. Because as soon as you stop thinking and going through the world with what can I do for me, and instead go what can I do for other people, I think everything changes.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, I don't know, I always touch on social media because it's just, I think it's an issue. I think it is the biggest setback of our generation because it can be used to connect people. It's really great, to stay in touch and that kind of thing. But I think we've built it's like people are like Space Force, we're going to go to the moon and we're going to go to another planet and we're going to create we've already done that. We've already created another world. We're mentally inhabiting this world of
a digital space.
Of a digital space, yeah. And I think that it's harming true human development, human nature, and identity. The way we connect with one another, the way we develop who we are and what we stand for and how we conduct ourselves. It's hard. I don't think that if I had to share with somebody why I find myself, I would say I have integrity. These are the things that I feel make me is it integral?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're the grammar girl.
I am. But okay. Not cool. But the things that make me what I would say that I value of myself and how I conduct myself, how I'm consistent and sound. I can't really back any of that up on social media. It's hard to what would I post?
You do a caption. I have integrity.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd say.
Yeah, I don't. And it doesn't really create an atmosphere for that. So I think just like you said, developing, you can be in touch with your serving mentality and your gift of I want to show that I care for others because I think it's important for people, to know that about me and that's a part of me. You have to be living, you have to be out and doing the act. So that's where I'm trying to bridge the
doing.
Yes,
doing the
doing.
act. We did an activity last night here at Identify Impact where we took out the poachers. And it's pretty much where we wrote down certain attributes about ourselves that we are not keen to, and then we stabbed through it and broke through it. Or things
in our life that are blocking us from,
And
reaching that.
I stayed up last night and edited until 2 a.m. and I rewatched all of your poachers. And one of the most common ones that I saw was self-doubt. That was a huge one. And what is self-doubt if not a lack of identity, not knowing who you are, doubting yourself? And I think it's not this all the time, but I think one aspect to self-doubt is your belief that you can't do things in excellence or that you can't do great things. And so I think the number one thing to break that self-doubt is to get out and do some stuff. Go serve. I know that a lot of you are young and you can't go out and change the world. You can't go out and even have an expertise in a certain field to help out a certain person that you want to help out, but everybody can do a little bit of something. And serving can look so different, so many different ways. It could look like cleaning for me. It could look like cooking for you. It could be spending time with an elderly person who is lonely.
It's all going to be hard things, though. If there's something that's blocking you and you're trying to overcome that, oh gosh, I'm going to say it, hard is the new fun.
Hard's the new fun,
I joke
baby.
about that a lot in day-to-day life. I reference that quote a lot. I'll be like, hard is the new fun. I don't want to do anything hard, but I'm going to force myself and as a joking thing. But it grows you as an
when you
individual.
do hard things, you get better. And when you consistently do excellent things, your self-doubt disappears, at least in my experience so far. And the only way to do things with excellence is to do a lot of it.
To practice.
Yeah.
To practice. Yeah, you have to. you have to practice, and it's something that you can overcome, but it's going to grow you and like build that connection with yourself as your individual self, meaning you have an idea of what your identity is, and then you're able to go out into the world and show people what that identity is and show them, you know, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm behind, and I'm well-rounded, and I'm not just, you know, a picture on a screen of, you know, or a cute caption or whatever.
Yeah, and you know, I love what Andrea said the other day. It was about how we all have the same time. We all wake up with the same 24 hours, and you have the same amount of time in your day as a billionaire has in their day. And I want to encourage you to, as opposed to laying in your bed and knowing that you're about to watch TikTok for the next 6 hours, to instead be with yourself and think, what can I do? Who is in my life that I can help and I can be a servant to, no matter how big or small of a help I can be, and be thinking of stuff to just do. I know that with the pandemic and all this, for me, it's really thrown me off of reaching out to people or helping people with anything, because it's like, we were all so distant for so long that now, even though it's all opened back up and we're all over that hump, I think a lot of us are still mentally in this, like a hermit mentality, because we've just been in it for so long, especially children that, as I explained on yesterday's podcast, of just your time on earth has had a big chunk of this pandemic a part of it. Yeah. And so your social development has been stunted, and you got to realize that, and that's why I think you need to work extra hard.
Yeah, to combat that and
right.
find things that you can implement in your, like I said, implementing your day-to-day life. If that's picking up a book that you typically wouldn't have read to read about other people that didn't live in this time, because those, I feel like with your history, like things that you've learned and read and stuff, they were more in tune with that because that was what life was. Like you had to form.
Believe it or not, they're pretty smart back then, guys.
Yeah,
we've kind of backpedaled a little bit.
Yeah, no, I don't think we backpedaled. It's just we have a roadblock, I think, and you can form. You can get in touch with, I guess, what it used to be like before. Like I said with Seinfeld. You have yourself, your identity, and then your integrity, and then what precedes you is your reputation by doing. And so if we can kind of get past that current block of perception, throw perception out, focus on recognition. That's you doing. You have to be around people to gain recognition, and then getting in touch with your own self and putting yourself in situations where you're reading about other people. What do I identify with? What do I connect with? What are things that I'd like to take on? Because even if you're not, you can always gain. So even if you're like, I'm not like that, you can work on that. Just like Danny said, practicing. And there's so many things.
It's so funny that when you talk about people in the past, you talk about Jerry Seinfeld, I'm thinking about Thomas Jefferson.
I know.
Thomas Jefferson, he has this amazing quote that I love, and I've even memorized because I just think it's amazing. It's actually engraved on his memorial in Washington, D.C. It says, I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. That pretty much means I'm going to be at eternal, forever war with any person trying to control what I think and what I feel. And I think a lot of us has fallen into this accidentally of letting the culture, letting certain movements, certain phrases kind of be who you are and take over who you are. And you're pretty much just a hollow shell, just reflecting the culture back at everyone, as opposed to reflecting inside to know what you believe. Imagine if you had that same mentality that you will be at war. It's not only on acceptance, it's you're at war against anybody trying to control what you think ever.
I love what you said, though, about everybody's reflecting back to culture, to society, what it is. And so then that's everything that everybody's seeing. And so then we all just go, okay, well, I guess that this is what it is. Be the change yourself, have that reflection where you go, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to show me. And then there's going to be somebody who's going to recognize that and go, that's it. Like, I identify with that. That's different.
Right.
I want to move with that. You know, I want to.
Believe it or not, you can inspire others, change yourself, then change the world, baby. Let's go. Rock on. Woo! That's the end of our show.